Good morning, children. Today we are going to do the leftover portion of the chapter in chemistry, that is oxygen and oxides. So today we are going to see the last portion of this chapter, children, in which the heading that we are going to cover up is rusting. Now rusting, before we get into the term, it is necessary for us to take some examples from our day-to-day life where we have actually seen rusting in our homes. You must have seen, children, these days we all use ACs and all, but there are certain people who are still using coolers in the summers. When a body of a cooler is brought from the market, it is first colored and then it is used. In case you don't color it, children, then after one season only you see that because of the spilling of the water every time on the body of the cooler whenever it is working, after some time the aluminium body of it, which is actually, it looks like aluminium but it is made up of iron, so that starts getting brown in color. It starts developing brown patch like thing on it. That conversion is known as rusting. How did that iron body develop that brown color? That is what is known as rusting. This process is known as rusting, and that brown powder is actually known as rust. That is hydrated iron oxide. So iron in the presence of oxygen, because in the environment it gets oxygen, and water is regularly, it is getting the supply of the water regularly as long as the coolers are working. So in the presence of oxygen and in the presence of water, iron changes itself into hydrated form, and that hydrated iron oxide is the thing that is known as rust, and the process is known as rusting. The eating away, that means the destroying of iron, is known as rusting. When iron is exposed to moist air, because moisture is already there, its surface rapidly changes into a layer of reddish brown powdery coating. This reddish brown colored coating is loose powdered form, and it is known as rust. You should underline this formula, children. This is iron oxide, and because it has water also over here, it is known as hydrated iron oxide, or in short we call it as rust. Now there is X written over here, children. See, Fe2O3 XH2O. Now this X is variable. That means the value of X can keep on changing depending upon how much moisture it is getting. So that ways, right? See, 4 Fe plus oxygen will give us ferric oxide, and this ferric oxide, when comes in presence or in contact with water, it will form what? It will form rust. Now this is written at a wrong place, children. This rust should have been written over here. So this is what is known as rust. Now there is an activity given over here in your books, children, which is helping us to understand the conditions that are required for rusting. Let's see this. Right? Now what have they taken is, they have taken conical flasks. 3 conical flasks have been taken, and in all of them iron nails are put. Right? In all of them iron nails have been put. And then, as you can see, children, in this flask it is water, and the nails are getting brown in color. Why? Because it is not closed from the top. So that means a lot of air is coming. That air contains oxygen, so the nails are getting oxygen as well as water, so they are rusting. Now in this condition, if you see, children, the mouth is already closed, water is there, maybe a little bit of air is also there, but on top of the water a layer of oil is there. Now this oil layer will not allow the air, the oxygen which is present in the air over here, to mix inside. So these iron nails, see, only water is present, so no rusting is taking place. And in the last one, children, see, in this one, children, what is happening? No rusting is taking place. Why? Because iron nails are there, the conical flask is there, the stopper is there. Only air is filled inside, there is no traces of any water. So neither the nails in this nor in this will rust, only the nails in the last one will rust, because they are getting both air as well as moisture. So what do we infer from this experiment that we have done? That both air and water are required for rusting to take place. Rusting actually corrodes away the metal. Corrodes means it destroys, it damages the metal. To prevent the iron from rusting, its surface should be covered with some protective layer. Now that protective layer can be anything, children. That can be even a layer of paint. This protective layer may be of metal or of non-metal. Prevention of rusting, that means how can we prevent the rusting to take place, because rusting is a very big problem. It eats away the metal, and when it eats away the metal, that causes a big economic loss. Iron is very useful as a metal for human beings. It is used for the various construction purposes. Very heavyweight machines, big machines, most of the vehicles and all, they are made up of iron only. The bridges and all are made up of iron, so it is very, very important. It only has one defect, that it gets rusted as soon as it comes in contact with air and moisture. If this contact can be prevented, rusting can also be prevented. So how can we avoid this contact? This can be done by the following methods. The first is coating with red lead oxide. Maybe the gates of your houses and all, you must have seen, children. When the iron grates are brought, first they are coated with the red lead oxide. The first layer of the paint is done of this, and then on this, then we get another paints done of our own choice. So the first coating is done of red lead oxide. Red lead oxide is an inexpensive paint. It is applied to underside of the ships, electric pole, bridges, in our homes, to the gates, to the maybe to the grills, to the railings and all, and then the coating of the other paint is being done. Coating with enamels, by applying appropriate enamel paints. These are also paints. These are slightly costly paints. So enamel paints can be done on their surface. Coating with grease. Now in your bicycles and all, you must have seen, children, we put a coating of the grease to the chain and all. You keep on doing the greasing. Now this greasing is being done on the chain in the bicycles in order to avoid the rusting of the chain of the bicycle. And it is also put in the moving parts of the big machines. Over there also grease is put in order to avoid the rusting to take place, because this grease, children, it forms a layer over the surface of the iron, and so iron is not able to come in contact with the air and moisture. That is avoided, so rusting is avoided. A thin coat of plastics can also prevent the iron surface from rusting. Next is prevention by metallic coating. That means with the help of the other metal, we put a thin layer of some other metal on the iron objects, and then we can prevent the rusting, because every object doesn't rust the way iron does. So the first method is by galvanizing. In this process, iron is covered by a thin layer of zinc, because zinc does not get rusted. Now for galvanizing to take place, children, this zinc is taken in the molten form. It is melted so that it becomes in the liquid state, and then this object, whatever iron object is to be coated, is dipped into this solution of zinc, and when it is dipped inside, a thin layer of zinc covers the iron object from all the sides. So this process is known as galvanization or galvanizing. Next is by tinning. In this process, iron is covered by a layer of tin, like it was covered by zinc. In this one, it is covered by tin. This also helps prevent rusting to take place. Third, by coating with chromium or nickel electrolytically. Due to this, iron gives off a very bright shine and gets rust-free surface. That means rusting will not take place, and it will also start having a very bright shining layer. So it is covered with chromium or with nickel with the help of electricity, that is by electrolysis. Electrolytically, by the process of electrolysis, it takes place. Last is when some metals are incorporated in iron. That means we mix certain things together, we make a mixture. It is not purely iron, but it contains some other metals also in it. These can change its property, like stainless steel. You all have heard of this term, stainless steel. In our homes, we have various utensils that are made up of stainless steels. Is one of the major examples of this. Stainless steel does not get rusted in moist air and is used for making utensils, the surgical instruments, the instruments that are used by the doctors for the operations, and the syringes and all those. and the various tools. These are all made up of stainless steel, because stainless steel is a substance which will not get rusted no matter how much it is exposed to the air or to the moisture. Next is respiration and combustion. The process in which the food is oxidized in a body to release energy is known as respiration. And combustion is combination of materials with oxygen releasing heat and light is known as combustion. Next we see, children, certain differences between respiration and combustion. Respiration is a biologically controlled process as it takes place inside the body of the living organisms, and not in the body, say in the body of the human beings, in the body of the animals and all, and takes place in the living organisms. Respiration takes place at room temperature. No high temperature is required at the room temperature. The process of respiration occurs. On the other side, let's see combustion. What is there about combustion? Combustion is an uncontrolled process and takes place in non-living things. Now, combustion is another name for burning only, children. So, burning is an uncontrolled process and it takes place with the non-living things like the wood, the paper, anything else. Combustion takes place at a higher temperature. It is required, in order to burn anything, children, it is required that it is being raised to first its ignition temperature. Ignition temperature is that temperature at which something will start burning. If we do not reach to that temperature, things will not catch fire. Now, maybe during winter time you have seen it in your homes or in the parties and all. When the coal is made to burn, it doesn't catch fire very easily. It takes some time to catch fire. In the same way, wood takes time to catch fire, because first the temperature has to reach to the ignition temperature and then only they start burning. Few more differences between respiration and combustion is, respiration will release a very little amount of energy in the form of heat, whereas combustion, most of the heat energy will be released during combustion. That means a lot of heat energy will be released. Enzymes are involved during the process of respiration. That means enzymes will be required for respiration. Next, enzymes will be involved during the process of respiration, and no enzymes are involved in the process of combustion. Light energy is not involved. That means during respiration, no light energy is given out. Whereas whenever something is burning, you must have seen that light energy is given out. So with this we complete all the differences between respiration and combustion. Next, there are few differences between combustion and respiration, combustion and rusting. Let's see that. Combustion is a process in which substances will combine with oxygen, whereas rusting is a process in which iron will combine with oxygen as well as water to form a powdery coating. I think so, children. First, let me cover up all the points that are under combustion. Second, combustion releases energy in the form of heat and light. Whenever something is burning, energy is released in the form of heat energy as well as light energy. Combustion takes place for combustible substance. Combustion will take place only in the presence of a combustible substance. That means something which will burn. Whole of the substance changes into oxide. The complete substance that is undergoing combustion will change into its particular oxide. Rusting is a process in which iron will combine with oxygen and water in order to form a brown loose powder coating, which is known as rust. No energy is released during the process of rusting. Rusting takes place on non-combustible substance. That means something which will not burn, like iron does not burn, so that is a non-combustible substance and it undergoes rusting. Last point is, rusting involves change only on the surface of the metal. That means the change can only be seen on the surface. Though slowly and slowly, children, if a iron piece is made to rust for a very long period of time, then slowly and slowly that rust eats away the complete iron. That means it goes to the inner layer also. And a time comes when the metal loses its tensile strength so much that even with the help of your fingers, you can crumple that into the powdered state. So that means the iron object gets completely destroyed due to rusting. Next, we see uses of oxygen. The first use of oxygen is fish and the other marine life uses dissolved oxygen for respiration. Fishes, you know children, other marine life organism means the organism which are surviving inside water. They use the oxygen that is dissolved in the water for the process of respiration. Then the next is for the hospitals and ambulances. Also they use the supply of the compressed oxygen cylinders. You must have seen when the patients are sick, they are being hospitalized. So over there also in the ambulances and all children, they need the oxygen cylinders that are required, so that whatever patient is being carried, if they are not able to breathe properly, they could be given the artificial supply of the oxygen. So oxygen cylinders are used in the hospital as well as in ambulances. For firefighters, they also use oxygen filled cylinders for breathing when they enter into a smoke filled building. Whenever there is a fire, in some fires there in some buildings or in some hospitals or anywhere else children, a lot of smoke gets filled, and in the presence of the smoke people are not able to breathe properly. So these firefighters, they carry the oxygen cylinders with them, so they are able to breathe and they are able to enter inside the smoke, and they are going to do the work for which they are there. Oxygen cylinders are also carried by the mountaineers. Now the people who climb on the mountains, those are known as mountaineers. So they also carry the oxygen cylinders with them. And the people who go in deep sea as a divers, and those who go into the outer space, that are the astronauts and all, they also require the oxygen cylinders for breathing, because at these places the amount or the content of oxygen gets decreased. Next use is children, oxygen and acetylene, when they combine together, they give a very hot flame, which is known as the oxyacetylene flame. It can cut, now the temperature goes so high that it can cut the metal and weld the pieces of metal together. That means it can help in the cutting of the metals. Now suppose we take a brick of say iron. Now it is not easy to cut it into pieces, but when it is being subjected with the oxyacetylene flame, so where this flame is falling onto the piece or the block of iron, it melts the iron there, and when it melts this metal piece, it breaks into as many pieces as we want. It can also be used for welding. Welding means to join the two pieces together. Suppose there are two small pieces of iron and we want to, children, there are two small pieces of iron and I want to join them together. I want to bring them close and I want to make them stick together. Then what will happen? Over there also the oxyacetylene flame can be used. It produces a very high temperature of approximately 3200 degrees Celsius. That's a very high temperature. When oxygen is mixed with hydrogen and burnt, oxyhydrogen flame is produced. Now the same gas, children, when it is mixed with hydrogen and burnt, it is known as oxyhydrogen flame is produced, and this gets a temperature, the temperature reaches over here as 2800 degrees Celsius, as you can see in the picture which is given in your books. See, so this is oxyhydrogen flame. Coming to the next is liquid oxygen. Another way of writing liquid oxygen, in short it is written as LOX, is used for burning fuel in the rockets and in the spaceships, as there is no air in the space. Now because in the space there is no air, so over there how will something burn, children? So that burning of the fuel in the rocket and in the spaceship is done with the help of LOX, that is liquid oxygen. Coming to the last use, oxygen is also very useful in preparing sulfuric acid from sulfur. Now what is the formula of sulfuric acid? It is H2SO4. How do we write? H2SO4. That means oxygen is present. Now when oxygen is present, oxygen will be required. Similarly in the nitric acid is, if you write the formula, children, it is HNO3. That means again oxygen is required over here. So wherever, in whichever acid we talk about, children, oxygen will always be present. So with this we come to an end of this lesson of oxygen and oxides, which we have already covered up so far, and I hope everything has got very clear to you. If you have clearly understood, and if you like my explanation, you are satisfied, you feel whatever I teach you, you are able to understand, then please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and share with your friends, so that all the children are being benefited with my explanations. See you in my next videos. Till then, take care and bye-bye.